Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:07. Let's get things started here on O'Connor and Company on a super busy Thursday morning, reeling from the news events and to prep you for this weekend's big summit between Putin and Trump. Everyone says it's an American-Russian. No, it's not. It's Trump and Putin. That's what this is. This is about two men. And we got full coverage of the upcoming summit as well as continuing coverage of the focus on crime in the District of Columbia. Starting at 6:05, we'll check in with Sean Kennedy, president of Virginians for Safer Communities. At 7:05, the chairman of the Republican Party and now an official nominee for the Senate in the state of North Carolina, Michael Whatley, will join us. 7:35, journalist from the Washington Examiner, Anna Giratelli, who's been sharing her personal experience about crime in this city. It's amazing. The only journalists, the only reporters in Washington, D.C. who seem to have experienced any kind of crime are right-leaning conservative reporters. That's weird, isn't it? Or at 8:05, we'll talk to the Lieutenant Governor of Virginia and candidate for governor, Winsome Sears. And then at 8:35, K.T. McFarland on that summit. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Bethany Mandel for a fine Thursday morning. Good morning, Bethany.
Good morning. I didn't hear you for the first part of that because I didn't have my mic turned up. And I thought, maybe this would be a more pleasant way to co-host radio with Larry if I can't hear him. I thought that maybe that would be...
Wow, right out of the gate, you're being hostile. I was about to tell you that the last couple of Thursdays when you've been sitting in that chair behind that microphone, I've been getting a lot of compliments about you. People have been reaching out. But you know what? Now we're going to have to rethink the whole thing.
Maybe you should have started with that this morning before we even went on air. But
perhaps.
I mean,
I
chose violence.
We had a very quiet show prep this morning. I'm overwhelmed with stories and events and things, and I had a lot of dreams last night. I had weird dreams. In fact, and this is the God's honest truth, which most of the things I say on the air are God's honest truth. Sometimes I'm hyperbolic for effect, but for some reason, Hunter Biden was in my dreams last night.
I'm scared to know more.
Not in any kind of erotic or romantic way.
It's too early for this, Larry.
He did play a character in some
this
strange
way. You know you need a vacation when you're dreaming about Hunter Biden, honestly.
That's true.
And
that is true. I took a 4 or 5 days when my daughter got married in May, but other than that, it's been all in this year so far. No, it's true. Hunter Biden, I can't tell you. It's one of those things where I know he was there and I know that, but he wasn't like an integral part, but he was sort of like a periphery figure. And it might have been because before I go to bed, I always do a summary of the news stories, and Hunter Biden is in the news. It's because of this thing that he said during one of his freewheeling interviews. This is one of those interviews where he was painting one of his masterpieces while talking to a interlocutor. Let's listen to it. Cut one.
Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile that it came into enormous wealth by very mysterious circumstances and had connections across the globe to very, very powerful people. And he was murdered right before it was all about to blow up. And now there supposedly are no files that the American people can see to explain all of that.
I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff.
I mean, it's crazy. Like, do I think that there's an actual list? No, I don't think that there's an actual list. I don't think that he was that stupid. But do I think that what they do have implicates him? Yeah. I think so. You know? I mean, Epstein introduced Melania to Trump. The connections are like so wide and deep.
So here's what we've learned from that clip. Hunter Biden is somewhat erratic and desperate for attention.
Is that what we learned? That was new information for the first time.
And number two, well, as a result of that clip, we've learned another thing. You don't mess with Melania. She's from Slovenia. She does not take this sort of thing lying down. And she announced yesterday a $1 billion lawsuit for false, defamatory, disparaging, and inflammatory statements made by Hunter Biden. She's got the paperwork ready, and she will drop that lawsuit on his face if he doesn't immediately remove and retract the content and issue an apology.
I am here for this because, I mean, she'll probably get the apology, I assume. But
Yeah.
I love this the way I love the lawsuit that the Macrons just filed against Candace Owens. I'm here for discovery, actually. I'm not even here. The lawsuit is great, whatever. I hope they win. But the real Easter egg, the real joy of this is going to be discovery. And I've signed up.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, if Hunter Biden says, hey, sue me, go ahead, and then he demands discovery, this may be the way to get to the Epstein files.
I know. I'm confused by this, assertion that there's no list. I'm like, maybe there's not, a notepad.
Right.
But presumably there's information.
There's names.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's names.
And so, it sounds like this is the only way to that information.
But that said, I mean, he has no backup for that. There's no. This is this rumor that has gone around. It's not true. We don't know who started it, but Hunter Biden, I think, is probably the most prominent, high-profile person to publicly utter this rumor. But it's become part of sort of the everyday lexicon of people in this city. It was like, well, Epstein introduced Melania and Donald Trump. And here's the thing: that should be very easy to prove. Mm-hmm. Or even better, Melania and Donald should be able to easily prove otherwise. Now, I've always heard that they met through Melania Trump's agent when she was working in New York as a model.
I mean, this is disprovable on all but Melania wouldn't have opened this door if it wasn't an easy button.
That's right.
So she has the easy button. Hunter is. This will maybe come as a surprise to you and our listeners, but perhaps not the most thoughtful and calculated person in politics.
Hey, he's the smartest guy Joe Biden ever met. Come on.
So I think that he might not have gone into this with eyes wide open.
All right. You said you're here. By the way, back to the Candace Owens lawsuit real fast. Did you see she's selling T-shirts to raise money for her defense?
No.
Yes. You can get a Candace Owens Macron lawsuit T-shirt to help. But I thought that she said, bring it on. I want this lawsuit. This is going to be great. But now she's actually having to sell T-shirts to finance it.
And it's pretty early to be selling T-shirts.
Well, not when that's the business you're in. That said, so you began by saying, this is great, let's go. Discovery is going to be amazing. Will that be more amazing than the spectacle of Hunter Biden having to publicly go on the air somewhere? I don't know, what the mode of apology will have to be, but to see him grovel and apologize to First Lady Melania Trump and beg her not to sue him for $1 billion. What's better? Because he don't have a whole lot of cash.
I don't know. I mean, he probably blew it on things, but I mean, he was making some real cold cash from the Chinese. But I don't think that he was a responsible steward of his money.
No, I think you may be right there. Yeah, you make all that money and stick it up your nose for too long, and you're not going to have much left for defense in a lawsuit. It is a whole lot of paintings. $1 billion is a whole lot of paintings.
He's got time.
Good for Melania Trump for fighting back. Good for the Trumps in general for fighting back. Most people in the public eye or in politics, they're advised to not engage, let it roll off their back, don't worry about it. People are going to say things, and she said no, screw this guy. I think that she, first of all, she's offended by the insinuation here that in some way, because you think Epstein, you think trafficking, illegal trafficking of people, and you think prostitution. So that's the implication here, obviously, number one. And number two, I think that, honestly, I think she knows what the Biden family put her and her family through, and she said enough.
Yeah, I'm done, so.
Enough. Let them feel a little pain. So we're rooting on the First Lady here. $1 billion.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
So, yes, last month, the French president and his wife, Emmanuel and Brigitte Macron, filed a 22-count lawsuit against Candace Owens for the podcaster's continued relentless assertion that Brigitte Macron is in fact a dude. As they put it in the Delaware Superior Court, where it was filed, a relentless year-long campaign of defamation against the Macrons. By the way, why is that defamatory?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Is it an insult to say somebody is transgender? I thought it was like the greatest thing you could be.
I think it's an insult to say that you're a man. I wouldn't want to be a man.
Hey.
I'm choosing violence this morning. I don't know why. But the real chooser of violence is Brigitte Macron. And this is Iran and Iraq for me. I'm just sitting back and enjoying the ride. There's no losing for me because whoever wins, I'm like, that's great.
I don't think I've told you this. Have I mentioned this on the air? I can't. My ex-wife married me when I was, a theater manager and a theater professional, and she was a former actress, although she's gone back to performing as a career as well. Anyway, and we have a good relationship and everything. But I had just started working for Breitbart for a couple of years and started doing my streaming show on Breitbart. But I didn't have this job in D.C. When we got separated. And she just hasn't been a big part of this second part of my life and career as a radio talk show host and podcaster. Anyway, earlier this year, she started talking about all of these stories and all of these, because we see each other on a regular basis when I go see the kids and we talk about news events. And she starts talking about all of these stories that I don't really know what she's talking about. I'm like, what is that? What are you talking about? Because she's trying to engage in conversation with me. We usually talk about more mainstream news items. And then I realized she's become a huge fan of Candace Owens.
Oh, no.
She's like...
Oh, danger!
It even reached the point where I said, listen, you know what I'm trying to be. I said, I have great respect for Candace as a communicator. I think she's very talented. But, the whole Jewish thing is kind of problematic, don't you think?
Did yesterday she posted that she's reassessing the Spanish Inquisition?
They had a point.
Candy.
So this has been a very interesting development in my life.
In your relationship, oy vey. Oy vey.
She actually at one point said, yes, I know, I'm troubled by a lot of those things too. It's really bad. And then she said, although, Kanye was taken out of context.
I mean, I do feel for Kanye because he has extreme mental distress.
Yes, he is emotionally disturbed. All right, so let's go back to Candace.
Yes, we have to.
Cut to, this was Candace after she learned of the lawsuit.
You were born a man and you will die a man. That's the point I'm making. So give us a sample. I'll send my doctors to take your blood. Figure it out real quick, however you want to go about this. Hey, how about just giving us some pictures again of you growing up, raising your children? That would be fine. For whatever reason, to phone, by the way, like I said, we'll get to the bottom of it. Right, that is what Discovery is for. I'm going to ask a lot of questions.
All right. So she does have a point. This should be the shortest lawsuit in the world. She proves she's a woman, and defamation is proven, right?
Yes. So I love everything about this lawsuit, and the interesting thing is the fact that where they filed it. They could have gotten a lot more in Europe, actually, if they had filed this in the UK, which Candy is, and I call her Candy because we're tight. Candy is a UK citizen.
Right, because her husband is like a lord or something.
So for all of her talk about dual loyalty, and I'm like, well, you're actually a dual citizen. I'm not even.
Oh yeah, she accuses that of Jewish Americans of having dual loyalties, where she's literally a dual citizen of the foreign country.
So they could have filed this in the UK, and it would have been very open and shut. I met a guy. I was in London a couple months ago, and I met a guy randomly at Shabbat dinner, who he got mad at another Jewish guy and called him a capo. And which is someone who betrayed the Jewish people by helping the Nazis during the Holocaust. And he actually got arrested for it. Their laws are bonkers.
The defamation laws in England are very different than they are here in America. You're right, and that makes it fascinating. I think it's because her show originates from here. That's my guess.
No, so I talked to Emily Zanotti, my legal advisor, about this at length because I'm very invested in this Iran-Iraq war between Candace and Macron, and it was because of Discovery, because the goal is the pain.
Well,
who's funding her? How is this going?
That certainly seems to be, because the development in this story is that it's been revealed that they hired a private eye to dig into Candace Owens' background, including her connections and financing from what appears to be many foreign nations here, far-right figures in France, Britain, and the U.S., which I get, and that's the goal. But here's the thing. If the whole framework of this is she was defamed, then we'll get to that,
Right. I think the question is who is behind, like, who's bankrolling her interest in the Macrons. And I think that's the point of this, is to find out who's bankrolling.
Well, in that case, despite my, amusement at the basis of it, then you don't use a lawsuit to find out who's financing somebody. If you've been defamed, then you get to the root of and then you can go through the punishment process and say, okay, we've proven you've defamed me. Now we're going to get all your money. So who's financing you? Who's funding you? You know what I mean? But if the whole point of a defamation lawsuit is to expose who's investing in somebody's program, that's the use of our legal system for other means than it was designed for, isn't it?
I mean, I don't think so. I think this is
either you're defamed or you're not.
Yeah, but I don't think it's a matter of the defamation. I think the interest is for them, like, why are you doing this?
Let's play this up. Oh, she's doing it. Well, okay. Let's play this out for a second. Is Brigitte Macron really a man?
No. I don't think she let's rewind to the last segment. You don't start a lawsuit. I think that we're probably in a safe spot here.
I just have to dance carefully because I still want to have a good relationship with the mother of my children. It's 5:25. Coming up, Governor Youngkin wants a criminal investigation for that Fairfax high school accused of facilitating secret abortions. We'll give you the details next.
WMAL FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
Well, things are getting very, very interesting in the Russiagate scandal with another drop of declassified information yesterday. And now we've got a new story about the Clinton Foundation corruption. We'll give you those details as the morning develops. Also coming up at 6:05, Sean Kennedy of Virginians for Safer Communities on the D.C. crime story. 7:05, the chairman of the RNC, Michael Whatley, on Dems standing by the murderers, I guess, in D.C. It's an interesting political strategy. Let's see if that works out for them. 7:35, Anna Giratelli of the Washington Examiner. 8:05, Virginia Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears, your candidate for governor. And at 8:35, Katie McFarland on the Russia-U.S. summit, Trump versus Putin. That's a loaded morning. Thank God I've got Bethany Mandel to help me make it see, I already need your help. To help me make sense of it all. There it is. Bethany Mandel, good morning.
Good thing that's not the tagline or anything. Helping you make sense of the news.
Making sense of the news, I believe, is in fact the tagline
oh, there you go.
For the mighty WMAL, and I'm flubbing it. Governor Glenn Youngkin is trying to make sense of what happened at the Fairfax County High School, where it's alleged, and it certainly seems to be a legitimate story. We had the journalist who broke it. He's got written testimony from the girl in question that two teenage high school students, underage minors, got abortions thanks to the counseling and assistance of high school employees, teachers, etc., who then compelled those students to keep it secret from their parents, and the allegations continue that they used school funds to pay for the pregnancy termination procedures. Governor Youngkin now directing the Virginia State Police Bureau of Criminal Investigations to open a full criminal inquiry into this matter. That was his announcement yesterday. It took a few days, but surely after as much vetting as possible of this story, there's enough there to open a criminal investigation. That should compel, I would think, the Democrat nominee for governor, Abigail Spanberger, to finally say something about it. But Bethany, where's Abigail? She's hiding.
I mean, I guess she hasn't gotten the memo from the Chinese folks of what she's allowed to say,
Right.
and what opinions she's allowed to have. But this story is so disturbing because from the testimony of the students, they weren't just helped; they were kind of forced into getting an abortion. The one girl who was 5 months pregnant, which, by the way, that is a major medical procedure that carries a great deal of risk. She talked about her reticence and her, she did not want to do this. She was scared. I mean, it is a very scary thing. And it seemed that the ideology of this social worker who pushed it, she led with that. And it's deeply disturbing. It's been interesting watching the progression of this story every time I'm co-hosting. There's more and more.
Yeah, funny how that works.
But I mean, we're talking to Winsome Sears later in the day, or later in the morning. But this is the power of having a governor that is red instead of blue, because they never would have investigated this. They never would have done anything. And there is a vested interest for the state of Virginia and the government to see what happened here, because even pro-choicers should be disturbed, because these girls didn't seem to have a choice. And this opened the state up to massive liability.
That's right.
If something, God forbid, had happened.
Well, certainly so. And I would contend, of course, that something did happen to the poor baby.
Of course.
And the parents didn't get to know about the disposition of their own grandchild or have any sort of say in guiding or counseling their daughter. And by the way, we don't know the circumstances of this pregnancy.
Correct.
Was this a family member? Was this a sexual assault? Was this somebody who was much older than her and could be liable for criminal investigation? We don't ask those questions. We just make sure that the baby gets killed and no one knows about it. Michelle Reed, who is the superintendent of schools for Fairfax County, last we checked with her, she was demanding a personal security detail because she's so important. She finally put out a letter to Centerville High School parents, and she's on the record now. Listen to this. I want to stress that at no time would the situation as described in these allegations be acceptable in Fairfax County Public Schools. Well, that's something definitive. We haven't heard that from anybody.
Yeah.
At this point, they weren't even saying that this would violate their policies, but now at least they say, oh, yeah, this would be against our policy. It is also against the law, by the way. So there's that. And now we're learning more about this so-called investigation that Fairfax County Schools is conducting, because they did say, we've heard about these allegations, we're conducting our own investigation. But they want to make sure that it's secret. They want no transparency. We have obtained or I should say, Walter Kurt, the journalist who broke this story, has obtained a letter from an attorney, Mary McGowan, who is conducting the investigation for Fairfax Schools. She says, I've compiled the attached list to assist you in locating materials. This is to somebody who has gathered materials to help break the story in the first place, a Zenaida Perez. You identified a number of documents, statements, emails, recordings during your interview, which you agreed to provide me, et cetera, et cetera. And then at the end it says, I would appreciate it if you would keep this request and all other aspects of the investigation confidential in order to ensure the integrity of the investigation. Now, maybe that's standard fare for a private investigator or attorney that's looking into something, but that reeks of, we don't want anyone else knowing about this stuff. We're trying to keep it as confidential as possible so that Fairfax County, instead of actually investigating the thing, can do more of a cover your butt situation.
So here's a question I have. The FCPS told 7 News in a statement, we are prepared to fully cooperate with the state police investigation into these 2021 allegations, as this is an ongoing personnel matter. Is the social worker still employed? Is she working directly with students? That's what it sounds like, right?
If it's an ongoing personnel matter, that means she's an ongoing personnel.
Yeah. I would like to hear, this against our policies. Wouldn't it make sense to then hear something along the lines of, until this matter is resolved, this person is on
Yeah.
the rubber, like whatever the Virginia
Right.
equivalent of the rubber room is, put her in the
Right,
rubber
where
room.
they get paid to show up and just sort of sit in a room, these teachers who are
Yes.
suspended or what have you. Yeah, you would think. I want to hear from this counselor or teacher, social worker, whatever the employee, I forget their disposition with
a
Fairfax
social
County
worker.
Schools, because she's got a great case. She can go to the school board and say, wait, you're going to fire me for this? What have I done that's contrary to any of your public utterances or any
Right.
of your public political positions that you make clear on a regular basis?
Well, we talked the last time I hosted with you, I guess it was a week ago, about the fact that this wasn't against their policy.
Nope.
So what changed in a week about their
question.
policy from 2021?
I think maybe what changed is that this is going to damage the Democrat nominee for governor, and so they're trying to pretend like they're concerned about it.
It can only damage if they actually ask her the questions.
Well, that's the point. She hasn't been asked about it, and she ain't talking about it. But we do have some news about Abigail Spanberger, mostly about where she's getting all of her money for her campaign. We'll tell you that coming up in a moment. First, though, it's 5:45.
Mark Levin, weekdays 6 till 9 on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
I mentioned that Abigail Spanberger, the Democrat nominee for governor in Virginia, has been silent about the facilitated abortion story in Fairfax County. But here's the thing. She opposes parental notification for minors getting an abortion. So, frankly, she isn't silent. She is in favor of what happened at Fairfax County High Schools until she comes out and publicly says otherwise. She's also in favor of the Loudoun County School Board defying the Federal Department of Education on Title IX violations with regard to gender policies. She's always voted to support these gender policies that make girls unsafe in private spaces like locker rooms or restrooms. So until she says otherwise, we must assume that she's in favor of all of that. Meanwhile, Winsome Sears, who will be joining us coming up at 8:05, she's been going after her quite a bit on these topics in particular. I think that she sees that this is a good way to whittle away at Spanberger's popularity and her numbers. That's why Spanberger's not saying anything, Bethany.
I think it's an interesting and correct strategy on the part of Winsome Sears because I think in a broad sense, when you ask how do you feel about inclusion for trans people, are like,
Right.
yeah, I guess that sounds. And then when you
This is what it
actually
looks like.
explain
Yeah.
that there will be a biological male in a changing area in a locker room with a girl, suddenly they're like, oh, wait a second. And the thing that confuses me,
Exposing them against your daughter's consent. That's
Right,
what needs to
right.
continue to be reiterated.
and what confuses me about sort of the liberal position on this, and I speak as a former liberal, and so I feel like I have a little bit of an insight here. We're told that men are predators. The whole Me Too era was believe all women, men are all predators,
Right.
danger Will Robinson, okay? And then we're also expected to believe the assertion that a man would never lie about feeling like a woman so that he can get into a locker room. So
Right.
I don't understand how you can hold those two beliefs at the same time. But what always has bothered me about all of these issues is that we're teaching young girls. And I when I wrote Stolen Youth with Carol Markowitz, I spoke to a young woman who was 15 years old who she was at a summer camp. And there was a male counselor who was assigned to her bunk as her counselor. And she was afraid to say something. And her mother told me afterwards, I don't want to teach my daughter to silence that internal alarm that has kept women safe for thousands and thousands and
Millennia.
thousands of years. Yes.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's what we're doing to Virginia girls.
Listen, left-wing positions on things like this have never been guilty of intellectual or moral consistency. So you're right to be confused about how they can hold all of these positions at once. Extra points for the Lost in Space reference. One other data point on the governor's race. We've been telling you that Abigail Spanberger's raising all her money out of state, and now we've got the latest numbers to prove it. Of all of the money that she's raised a lot of money, $15 million worth, 44% of it comes from Virginia. 23% comes from Washington, D.C. That's right. Almost a quarter of the money for Abigail Spanberger is from the swamp, and the other 32% comes from other states. The majority of the money she's made, literally the majority, $50,000 5% comes from outside of Virginia. Choose wisely. Again, Winsome Sears, our guest at 8:05. It's 5:53.